Hello and welcome today to a introduction to EasyBib School Edition. My name is Wendy and I am an outreach librarian and your tour guide today. So I'm going to give you some context and history about EasyBib first and then jump into a live demo. So on your screen right now, you should see the EasyBib homepage. And EasyBib was actually founded about 11 years ago while our two founders were still in high school. So you can say that EasyBib was created by students for students, which is one of the reasons that it's really user intuitive. And since then, we've really grown. And last year, we had over 40 million users, making us the most popular bibliographic tool today. Now, I'm going to switch to some slides here. And you should see some Turnitin statistics on your screen. Now, Turnitin, as you're probably familiar with, is a very powerful reactive plagiarism tool. And last year, they scanned over 33.5 million papers. And despite the fact that students should have known that they were going to be, their papers would be picked apart for plagiarism, Turnitin still found 3.8 instances of plagiarism per paper. So from these statistics, we can infer that students don't always know what constitutes plagiarism. So one of the things we did with EasyBib was integrate a notebook feature to help break down that process and be a more proactive form of anti-plagiarism. Now, there is an increase in the use of user-generated content online. The number one cited web source on EasyBib is, surprise, surprise, Wikipedia. So, as you can see here, students are also not being as critical of the sources they're using online. And again, one of the things we've tried to do at EasyBib is make them more aware of this by having a website evaluation feature right there on our form. Finally, I wanted to end with branding matters. Now, when you get students, I'm sure that many of them are very savvy searchers, but with Google and Facebook and so forth, which have been really accurate and helpful for things like finding gossip on Justin Bieber, maybe looking up their friends' Facebook statuses, but obviously not for their papers. So one of the things we're trying to do is equal, in their minds, research equals your library by branding your school and your resources. And I'll show you the customization we have on EasyBib that helps you do that. So let's begin by logging in. We make it very easy for students and teachers to create EasyBib accounts. You can use any existing email address, or if you're in elementary school and have students who don't have any of that, you can actually create addresses for them using, say, their first name, last name, John Doe at easybibuniversity.com or something like that. Also, if your students have an account with one of these third-party websites, they can use that existing login information to create an EasyBib account. And especially if you're a Google Docs school, it'll be a seamless transition. And of course, that's just one less piece of information and another password for your students to remember. Today, I will be logging in with my Google account. And once my home page opens, you'll notice that right away we have the customization on the right here. Right now it says EasyBib, but of course it'll be whatever you put up there, your school's logo, mascot, and then whatever links that you find value in. Things like your library's homepage, databases, email reference, and so forth. So as your students are researching, not only will they always see this on the side, but if they ever have a need, maybe they need another magazine or they have a question and need a librarian's help, they can access that right here. So it's a direct connection between you and the student. Now on the left, you notice that we have various projects. Now to create a new project is very simple. Just click Create a New Project, input the project name, thesis statement, or even the class title. Select the style. We have it to MLA by default, but APA and Chicago are also available. And once you create a project, it'll appear at the bottom of the list, and you're ready to go. Now, you might have also noticed that every project has a few links around it. For example, one for bibliography, one for the notebook, which I'll show you later on, and then one to a paper link, which links to Google Docs. So again, if that's something you have, it'll link your students directly to that paper or presentation that they're working on. And just by having these links here, it really helps students keep all parts of that project in one accessible place. So they can easily start up at school, log out of their account, and go back home, and everything's right there ready to go. Instead of having it in different places online, at home, on a jump drive. Nope, just one. It's a one-stop shop. Now at the side here, you'll see there's also a share link. This is to help facilitate collaboration between students within a group and with their teacher. All they have to do is input that group members or teacher's email address here, set permissions to view, edit, or comment, and then on that person's end, it'll appear under shared projects. So they can easily go in and add to one bibliography, edit, delete, or teachers can also come in and leave comments to guide their research. So let's start adding some citations. I'm going to click Bibliography here, and one thing that we really try to emphasize is to have a diverse research approach. Many times, students will just go straight to Google and take the top 3 or 5 results that come up, and of course, we don't want them to do that. We want them to have really strong, diverse bibliographies. So as you can see here, on the top, we have the 5 most commonly cited source types available, as well as 59 options total. Everything they should be familiar with, from books to newspapers, magazine articles, and so forth, but also things they should become comfortable with citing: journal articles, government publications, film, etc. And by having the 59 options here, not only are we helping them to choose the correct citation format from the beginning, but also teaching them about the different kinds of things they can cite. Now, on the side, you'll also notice that we have an option to copy and paste if you have a database that automatically does that, and also the ability to import citations from databases. So for example, if you use things like EBSCO or Gale, we have a really easy 2-step process for students to use, and we have tutorial videos here to show them how to do that. In addition, we also have partnerships with ProQuest, ABC Clio, Credo Reference, WorldCat Local, and so forth, so that there are direct exportation links and buttons between their database and EasyBib, so you can send citations directly. Now, the final way that we emphasize importing a different kind of citation is if you scroll to the bottom of this page, you'll notice that we have a link for iPhones, iPads, Androids. We actually have an app for these devices that lets students scan the barcodes of books and create citations in mere seconds. It's really fun, really easy, and a great way to promote your physical collection of books. Okay, so now I am going to go to this Wikipedia article, copy the URL, and we're going to cite it here. And actually, we're going to have the auto-cite function help autofill the form a bit. If you remember going back to the 59 options here, you'll notice that some of them have double orange arrows. That indicates that this source type has the auto-cite function, which just means we'll pull data from our various sources to autofill the form. And for example, for the website, we scrape the metadata and ta-da, some of it is filled in. Now, before I get to the actual form, I wanted to call your attention to the top, because the first thing we do with websites is have a flag for website credibility. If it has a maybe credible or not credible rating, it means that it was one of the top 5,000 most cited websites on EasyBib that we actually sat down and evaluated using academic librarian criteria. Even if there isn't a rating, students can still click Learn More here to see the criteria sets we used, as well as questions they should ask themselves, so that they really start to understand the process and can come to their own conclusions about a website. Of course, Some students are more visual learners. So if you click See Examples here, they'll actually be shown what a credible, non-credible, and credible website looks like, the kind of elements they need to pay attention to, and where to find them within the website. So let's go back to the form. You'll also notice that within the form itself, anything that hasn't been auto-filled has a red box around it, so students are they're called to attention to it. And to fill out any form, whether it has auto-cite or not, we have something called Learn Cite. So if you click in any of these blanks, it'll appear to the right in a bubble, and it does a few things. First of all, it's going to tell the students what information goes there. Secondly, it'll show them how the inputted information fits in the final citation. And whenever possible, it'll also show them rules. And this is really great because it helps students make very accurate citations because they see where the different elements fit into the final citation. Students really start to understand the structure and what these elements mean and can read these citations in the end. And also, because students get this at their point of need, it just makes the whole citation process more accessible and less intimidating. So they're more likely to cite and less likely to plagiarize. We also have an Add Annotation button here, in case that's a requirement. And if everything looks good, create the citation, and it's automatically formatted and added. Now, I am going to switch projects very quickly. And let me just call attention to one more thing about the citing a citation here. So with EasyBib, we really try to make it a useful website for students of all levels. So we have students as young as 4th grade using us and as advanced as graduate students. And one of the reasons for that is we embed help where they need it. So for example, for students who don't know what kind of source they're citing, we have something called a source guide. Let's just say I have an online magazine article, and I think, well, it's probably a website, but I'm not sure. All I have to do is click this little help button here. It'll show me related source types with definitions and examples. If I see what I have, I can go ahead and click the title. It'll ask me a few more pertinent questions, and then brings me directly to the form I need when I need it. Now, something else to note about this page is with any auto-cited source type, we do explicitly tell students to confirm or modify the information because we can only pull it the way it's presented to us. But this just makes the students more aware of the different elements they need to look for. They still have to flex their knowledge to make sure that everything's correct within the citation, and it moves them from being rote copiers and pasters to more editors of that bibliography. So now let's go back to the bibliography itself, and let me just explain some of the links surrounding it. So at the top, you'll have our sharing features, exportation options, and formatting, so you can actually toggle between formats if you need to, just by clicking on it. And for MLA and APA, we also have in-text citation creators. So for them, it's parentheticals. For Chicago Turabian, it's footnotes. And all you have to do is go to the citation you want to use, click the parenthetical link underneath it, input the correct information, and then copy and paste this directly into the paper. And as I mentioned before, even if students don't know what to do with this, we do have a link to the rules, so they don't have much of an excuse not to. Now, finally, for the bibliography, it's really important to have accurate, good citations and sources, but they need to see them in the context of the whole bibliography. So if you look up here, we have an Analyze link, which will score that bibliography based on 4 areas teachers often value. Things such as having a diversity of sources, database usage, and so forth. Along with this, you'll notice that we also have an explanation so they understand why this is important, as well as how to improve their score if they need to. Underneath, we have a few unscored areas that also might be important, such as years published if it's on current events, dates cited so they can see their work process, and annotations if that was a requirement. So as you can see here, with all of these beautiful, colorful graphs, straightforward explanations, we're really trying to engage students to spot and correct issues on their own initiative and build a sense of what a good, strong bibliography should look like. So now I'm going to move on to the notebook here. And we've been getting really great feedback from both teachers and from students. Teachers like it because it's based on proven anchors such as note cards and an outline. And students love it because it's digitized, colorful, and easy to use. Let's start by creating a new note. You can do that by clicking here or double-clicking in the empty space. Again, we do embed help here if they need it. So simply give your card a title and easily associate it with a source, but only if that source has already been inputted. This is just emphasizing that best practice habit of recording sources while they are researching, rather than scrambling at the end and maybe forgetting something. We also have a structured input area here to force them to think more critically about how they're going to present that information while letting them work in a way they're used to, which is to copy that block of text they want, put it here, and then come back to reflect if they're going to quote, paraphrase it, or put it into their own words. There's also a space for identifier so that they know exactly where they got it from their source, and then some organizational options to help clarify their themes and ideas. Once the card is created, you can move it around the space very easily by clicking and dragging, add it to a group, change that group's colors and tags if you want to, and of course, you can easily change your mind. And if this space is too cluttered, we do have a bird's eye view here, so there's plenty of room for them to work in. Now on the left here, you'll also notice that we have a list view. This is a little more linear and detail-oriented and good for getting quick overviews of things. So for example, if I'm both a teacher or a student, I can go through groupings and see, oh, the topic aftermath has quite a few. Nuclear meltdown needs more notes and research. Or I might go to source and see, oh, these cards don't have anything associated with them. The student needs to go back and do that. So as you can see, this is a very useful tool for spotting issues you wouldn't normally see and visualize. On the right, now we have the outline. So everything here is user-generated. Thesis goes on the top. You make as many bullet points as you need to, either by clicking here or double-clicking in the empty space. You can drag items up or down, left or right. And the best part is you can drag and drop your note cards into the outline. So there's this direct connection between all of the work your students have been doing and the end product of the paper. In addition, the cards, once in the outline, act just like regular bullet points. And you can delete them from the outline and they remain unscathed in the note card itself. Finally, you can print this outline with all of the notes in it. And this is a very effective way for students to review the content and organization of their paper as they're actually writing it. One last note about the notebook section is that it's, again, if depending on the permission set, you can also share it and poke around people's notes, view their outline, and leave comments. So as you can see, the notebook area is a very powerful tool in helping students write effective, organized papers. Now I'm going to jump to this red button up here, School Admin. You may have noticed it before. This is something that I can make you or maybe a few of your colleagues. This is done by request, and it'll let you do a few things. Number one, it'll let you view all of the students under your account, which is really handy, especially when you have students coming up saying, Miss or Mr., I forgot my password, what do I do? You can come in yourself, look for their account, and reset it right here. It'll also let you control certain system settings, as you see here. For example, you might have noticed there was a Turnitin link on the front. If that's something you subscribe to, you can enable it. And if not, you can click and disable it. This is also where you control that customization I showed you. And you can keep things as up-to-date as possible. Finally, I'm clicking on statistics here, and it's going to take a moment for all of that information to be aggregated and shown to you. But basically, when it comes on, you'll see that it will give you a snapshot of how students are using your EasyBib subscription and what months of the year. So it'll break it down by metrics such as page views, citations created, note cards created, and so forth. Then by months. And on the top, it'll be in table form, and on the bottom, it'll be in graph form. So this is really handy when trying to determine what your students are using the most, or even to have solid numbers when going to an administrator. So as you can see here, metrics here, months, and then graphs on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to explain some of these black tabs, starting with the research tab here. And what we're trying to do was provide a holistic experience for the students. So as you saw, the other features help students when they're researching and writing their paper. The research tab here helps them in the beginning when they're still exploring a topic. I'm going to do one on Japan. And this search goes through citations created by our over 40 million users. And the results are going to be unique in that the times cited are shown, with the thought the more times it's cited, the more pertinent the information, the credibility rating shown whenever possible. And if you hover over an article that you like, you'll see bibliographies it was mentioned in, as well as other citations in that bibliography. So this is a really organic way for students to explore a topic, formulate a keyword search, research strategy, and just narrow down a thesis. So for example, I did Japan, maybe I like language and culture, and I look at this and think, oh, maybe I want to do it in business. We also want to encourage, again, students to have a very diverse research process. So if you look at the left, we do list a number of source types for them to go to. So again, just providing students a very effective and natural start in their research project. Now, if we go to the citation guide here, we'll find some really great resources for both students and teachers. Students, since they do a lot of their research away from the classroom, we wanted to provide them a little bit of extra help if they need it. So they'll find things about citation, but also the writing and research process itself. For example, if you look at the research guide here, we talk about different things like what is plagiarism, tertiary, secondary sources, and so forth. And if you see anything here that complements your own lessons as well, you're welcome to download and print it for use. Specifically for educators, we also have other things to help make citing more fun and promote your subscription, with some popular handouts, bookmark printouts, and so forth, links to training webinars, and a few lesson plans and other resources. Now, finally, I went through a lot today. I don't expect you to remember all of this. So I'm going to introduce you to our knowledge base, which is linked right here. And you'll find a treasure trove of tutorials and FAQs for you to use whenever you have questions. And specifically for School Edition, if you click here, we have an instructional guides page, which gives you PowerPoints to help you introduce EasyBib to your colleagues and your students to get them up and running and familiar with the basics. So that's all I had to show you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope that EasyBib works well with your students and that you'll see that it'll help make them better and more thoughtful researchers. Thanks.